Okay, here I am as promised on second live video this week. I'm going to do different topics each time. Tuesdays are going to be holistic health hacks, and on Fridays or maybe Saturdays, depending on what's going on, we're going to talk about living a transformed life. And so it'll be an ongoing progressive thing with just a little tip each time. Each one stands alone, but then they'll build on each other. So I have spent my life really seeking my own healing, and that's been a real constant process in my life, even before I felt called to be a healer or a counselor or whatever you want to call me. I just knew that I tasted freedom and I wanted a little bit more and a little bit more. So I'm going to begin to share what I've really found as what I believe is the key to living a transformed life, if we're going to go to one key. And that key is truly understanding the subconscious. Now, I've talked about in my holistic health house, we have to look at the physical health, we have to look at the spiritual health, and we have to look at the emotional health. So understand that I'm talking about O3 when I talk about the subconscious. So if you think about our life as an iceberg, and if you know what an iceberg in that reference is, a picture of it is that there's only a small portion of the iceberg that's above the surface. Unfortunately, the Titanic found that out the hard way. And below the surface, you have 90, 95, or even more percent that you can't see that's underneath the surface. And that's really how we are as humans. We're really only a conscious of or aware of a very small part. And most of the things that aren't going well for us in our life are because of programming that we have in our subconscious that has either occurred over the course of our life, through negative experiences, repeated experiences, even just negative energy we picked up from people that we may not have had language for. So much of how we are formed can be by just what was modeled by our parents and the energy and the environment that we grew up in. Was it a safe home? Was it an unsafe home? Did we even have language to know what that means? We also had things that came from the womb, and we also inherited things from our ancestors. And some of those things are spiritual, a lot of them are emotional, some of them are physical as well. So as I go through these 5-minute clips I'm going to do over the course of the next several weeks or months, really what I'm going to talk about is understanding how we've become who we are and identifying maybe some of the things in our life that really aren't working well for us, and understanding then how can we actually go in, identify those things, and reprogram those things to really live the life that we want to live. If you grew up in a great family and had great parents, and maybe it's hard for you to get people who really struggle in areas, or really understand or empathize or have more than compassion because that's not your struggle, that's okay. But the truth is that we all have trapped emotions. We all have things that we went through in life that we weren't able to process, we weren't able to deal with at the time. There's stuff down, and those emotions have caused us to form beliefs about ourselves, about others, about the world. And because we're like an iceberg, we're only aware of a small percentage of those. Now, the good news is that we can even do just a tiny bit of transforming the unconscious part of that and have a huge result in our life and see major changes. I'm going to point to a couple of my books. If you've got time to read, you can find these on Amazon. You can also find it on my website, integratedlifestrategies.com. My first book is A Believer's Guide to the Law of Attraction. Actually, I'm going to flip this around. Mirror. Believer's Guide to the Law of Attraction, a spiritual map to transforming and manifesting God's destiny in your life. Oh, and by the way, I'm sitting in the parking lot at LA Fitness because I forgot I promised to do this show tonight, and I was on my way to work out. And then actually, a lot of what I'm going to be teaching on the next 2 days is from my devotional called 30 Days to Peace and Joy. And a lot of these teachings are going to be coming out of there. They're little tidbits, little bites of how to raise your frequency and become a person who lives a more peaceful and joyful life. And then my most recent book is Journey Through the Storm, Overcoming the Pain of Your Husband's Porn and Sex Addiction. This is specifically written to spouses of sex addicts, porn addicts, people struggling in that area, and the issues they go through and the struggles they go through. So any of those books are available on my website. You can also find them on Amazon, and but most of what I'm going to be talking about you're going to find in this 30 Days to Peace and Joy. Okay, so signing off, this iceberg principle. Most of you is beneath the surface in your subconscious. So one of the things you could start doing this week is start listening. What are those little voices that creep up into your head? Those voices that may say things like, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, nobody likes you, this isn't going to work, or, bad things are going to happen, or this isn't going to go your way. What are those little voices that creep up, that whisper in your ear, that just seem to come out of nowhere? That's your subconscious. Those are those beliefs, and something has triggered from your past one of those beliefs, and they're coming up. We can call them tapes, programs. You may have dealt with some of this already or used some of this terminology, but start to listen to those voices that are speaking when you're not really paying attention. And what are they